At the heart of the U process is the capacity to be present. Being present to what's emerging from the now. Sounds like really easy. But in reality, many of us find this the hardest thing to do. And the reason is that there are 4 sources of distraction that in every given moment are working at us to keep us kind of distracted kind of from this place. And the first one we all know. It's called the past. And when we are trapped, when our attention, when our thinking is trapped by regretting what happened yesterday, by replaying the conflicts I went through yesterday, by wrapping my mind around what I could have said or should have said, or what others could have said or should have said, that's when we are stuck in this place. And it draws us away kind of from this kind of sources of that what's wanting to emerge. That's the first force. The second one is called the future. And when we worry about tomorrow, when we worry about what happens the day after tomorrow, kind of that's kind of when our attention is moving into this space. And again, kind of we lose connection to the present moment. Now, when you think about the past, the present, the future, the thing is that only this is really real. Only attending to the present moment, attending to the sources of what's wanting to emerge, is connecting us with real reality. Because the past is what has happened. Kind of it passed away. Kind of we can no longer change that. So that's already happened. This is what not yet happened. Kind of what may or may not happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. The only handle, the only way, the only mode of time that allows us to connect with and shift how reality unfolds is connecting to connecting to the present moment, connecting to what's emerging from the now. So those are the first 2 distractions. But there are 2 more that we all know very well. The third one is it's all about them. So it's a mindset that we apply when engaging with other people that sees the source of all the problems in them and that doesn't see our own role. So it's all about them is a mindset that locates the sources of all issues kind of outside. And we tend to lose ourselves. And the opposite, of course, of that, on the other side of the pole is this. It's all about me, kind of, which is the flip side of the same process. That I'm overly consumed and absorbed by what may happen to me in this situation or that situation. So those are the 4 sources of distraction. But the question is, how is it that we can relate to the past, to the future, to others, and to ourselves from a deeper place, from a place that is grounded in the sources of what's emerging from the now? So if we succeed in kind of grounding ourselves kind of in this connection, connecting to our own sources, how is it that we can relate differently to these 4 spaces? So first off, if from this place we begin to connect to the past, we move into a connection that we can describe as learning from the experiences of the past. So attending to the past in a way kind of that keeps sight at kind of our own sources, of our own role in what happened yesterday. What is it if we apply the same mindset to lean into the future, to connect with the future? What is it that we call this core activity or this capacity? That's the capacity of sensing that we practice also throughout the ULab we sense and lean into the unknown, kind of the space of possibility kind of around us, kind of that is wanting to emerge, or that could happen. And then if we use the same mindset to connect to others, what do we call that? That's what we call deep listening and deep dialogue. So it's something we also, it's that in the ULab we call listening 3 and 4, kind of the third and fourth level of listening, which allows us to connect to others in a way that's kind of collapsing the boundary that's separating me from others. And if we apply kind of the same kind of connection to source that we have extended here to these other spaces, if we apply that into our relationship that we have to ourselves, that's, how do we call this quality of connection? That's what we call mindfulness, or paying attention to our attention, or awareness, as a way of attending to ourselves by way of turning around the camera and seeing ourselves kind of from that larger sphere around us. Kind of not only seeing inside out, but remember the astronaut video kind of in the first class, kind of turning around the camera and beginning to see yourself. That's kind of what we have been referring to as paying attention to our attention, which allows us to connect, to engage in a different connection to ourselves that's not centered around the ego. So that really is, in a nutshell, you could say, the curriculum we have been going through. You have been practicing throughout the past few weeks by all the case connects, kind of learning from the past, really kind of reflecting on the experiences of the past and dealing with them in a way that is grounded here. You have been practicing your capacity to deep listening with the empathy walk outside and the empathy walk at home through all the listening reviews and so forth. You have been practicing this leaning into the unknown, kind of the sensing the future that's wanting to emerge through the stepping into the field of the future practice and through other practices we did throughout the ULab journey. And you have been practicing your capacity for awareness and mindfulness, for turning around the camera with a whole set of practices kind of that we have been offering to you, and that probably in part you have been experimenting with and maybe adding to those practices that you are already engaged in earlier before you joined the ULab. So those are really 4 core capacities that we try to strengthen, that we try to explore, that we try to give you practices and tools around. And the reason why they matter is that this kind of from an everyday perspective really sums up what the U process is. It is the capacity to connect to our own deeper sources and to use that as the foundation of engaging kind of with the reality around us and with kind of connecting with that what's wanting to emerge through us.